And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
All right, it's time. Let's check in. Who's on Gavin Newsom's podcast this week? Still sounds like a porno.
Well, that's on brand for him.
This is Gavin Newsom. She's been called a rising star. Donald Trump referred to her as the future of the Democratic Party. Couldn't think of someone better to talk about what's going on in Texas and the gerrymandering, what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the National Guard, than the one and only Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, I don't have enough time to bleep that episode.
Sounds like two peas in a pod to me. How bored would you have to be to listen to those two talk to one another for an hour?
You don't know how bad my commute is.
Well, I guess we have that to look forward to. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the host of Rising on the Hill TV. He's also a senior editor at Reason, who you can follow on X at Robby Soave. Robby Soave, welcome.
Good to talk to you guys. Great to be with you.
What do you make of that arranged marriage? Gavin Newsom and Jasmine Crockett now getting together.
Oh, man. Jasmine Crockett is interesting that she's becoming a thing. So the first thing you have to know about Jasmine Crockett is that her coworkers on the Hill, the other members of Congress, the Democrats, they hate her. They absolutely hate her. They cannot stand her. The idea of her having a leadership position horrifies them. They think she's, a walking train wreck, basically. She's not doing the Democratic brand any favors. Not that anyone can really make the Democratic brand worse than it already is. Gavin Newsom is, I think with this podcast, he actually has, honestly, I think he's done himself a little bit of good in terms of the conservative guests he's had. I think he's made himself, he's not winning anyone to his side, but I think he's just basically introducing himself to the rest of the country. And, like you said, there's people who have long commutes. I'd listen to him. Jasmine Crockett is not who I want to listen to, but he's getting his name out there, and it's a name recognition game.
What do you think she does? Let's say that Texas moves forward with the new map, and they draw her out. I guess she can move to a different district and run in a different district. Or there's a U.S. Senate seat that's up in that state. I guess she could go statewide and run for the U.S. Senate. Or, since she loves the national attention, she could throw her hat into the ring for the Democratic nomination for president if she wanted to.
We could have a repeat of 2016 on the Republican side on our hands for the Democrats, where just literally every single person who wants any kind of attention for themselves is going to run. And, you'll have like 18 different far left people, 18 different governors who span from, kind of liberal to very liberal, and, media people. It's going to be a free-for-all. Jasmine Crockett is not going to be the Democratic nominee for president. I don't think she'd be the Senate nominee, and I certainly don't think she'd win Senate in Texas if somehow she did become the nominee. She is very far left. She's very abrasive, belittling. She's kind of got a little bit of that. The Republicans sometimes there's too much reality TV, too much entertainment, and it's all about being a kind of influencer. To which I always say, if you really want to be a conservative influencer, can you please get out of Congress so that people who are interested in actually running the country can do that job, and you can just be an influencer? I put her in that category. She would rather be an influencer, which is fine, but you don't need to be in Congress to do that.
What do you make of Gavin Newsom as a presidential candidate? And I say that because he's recently changed his public persona from being the guy that can talk to the other side of the aisle and win those purple states that Kamala Harris lost to, I am the guy who hates Trump more than anyone else on planet Earth, and I'm willing to go scorched earth on the internet every single day. Most recently, he's been going after Bed Bath & Beyond, who said that they're not going to open up a location in California due to the business climate. He's been attacking fire victims. If the fire victims say they have not received good government services in the rebuilding process, he's gone after members of the state legislature in very personal terms, one over sex stuff, another one over being bald. He basically believes in a scorched earth, winner take all. I'm going to do anything I can to own you. And here is what Dave Weigel had to say about this, formerly of Slate, maybe even currently. Here's what he said. This is what's so interesting. Inside the Democratic Party, Newsom's decided that we're in a post-cancellation media environment. You don't say something offensive and apologize. You trigger whoever was offended and then make fun of them.
I mean, there's something to that. Apologizing does you no good. I think what it matters if that's true to your brand. So the reason Democrats and mainstream media hate that, Trump gets away with being mean to people and mocking people, and no one dislikes Trump or turns on Trump because of it. And it's just because it's true to who Trump is, that he's a reality entertainment figure. Obviously, he's become a serious politician and government leader and world leader as well, but it's just true to kind of his personality. Is this true to Gavin Newsom's personality? I don't really know. I don't know him as well as you guys do living in California. I think he is not the least likely candidate for the Democratic nominee. The Democrats don't have an obvious nominee. So the person with a lot of name recognition and who has a fairly good influence game and has some resume, that's not unfathomable to me. I think, and honestly, and people make fun of me when I say I think Kamala Harris has a real shot at it because she is so unpopular, and her campaign went nowhere when she did it on her own, and she had to be actually given the Democratic Party nomination this time around. But she has name recognition, and you're going to be up against a bunch of people who nobody's ever heard of, and that matters. I think Gavin Newsom. I think if AOC goes for it, she's got a real shot. If it's a divided field among progressives and liberals, and she's the true lefty Bernie inheritor in the race, she could do something. I also think, obviously, if the Democrats just wanted to pick a winner and it was a smoke-filled room, who do we pick to win? Well, then you certainly want Josh Shapiro or Gretchen Whitmer. As much as I don't like Gretchen Whitmer personally, you want the governors of the must-win states. It's like a no-brainer to me that it should be them if it's being picked, but it's not being picked by the party. It's picked by the voters, and there are a lot of them in California. So I don't know.
We're speaking with Robby Soave, who you can follow on X at Robby Soave. Robby, you mentioned the Democratic Party's damaged brand. There was a big piece out in the New York Times today that talked about that and went through the numbers. I want to go over some of those highlights with you. The Times said that the Democratic Party is facing a voter registration crisis in red, blue, and battleground states. 30 states plus Washington, D.C. allow for partisan registration. Between 2020 and 2024, Democrats lost 2.1 million voters in those states, and the GOP gained 2.4 million. By percentage, the Democrats went from an 11-point advantage over the Republicans in 2020 to just a 6-point advantage in 2024. Along the way, some states have flipped to the GOP registration entirely, including the states of Florida, with more big ones on the way. In Pennsylvania, which is now the big battleground state, Democrats had a registration advantage of over 500,000 voters in 2020. Now that's just over 50,000 voters. In North Carolina, Republicans erased roughly 95% of the registration advantage that the Democrats held in the fall of 2020 by this summer. We're seeing this play out not just in those states, but in states all over the country. What do you make of what's going on right now in terms of voter registration?
It speaks to the fact that the brand is just so damaged for a couple different reasons. Biden has destroyed his party because voters feel like the party is complicit in the cover-up, that even if you didn't know, why weren't you asking questions? I mean, this is what's going to confront Pete Buttigieg as he pursues the nomination. And he's kind of good at talking to people who don't agree with him. He goes on Fox. He does podcasts. He's not an unintelligent communicator, but his problem is going to be, well, you were in the administration, man. You're a cabinet secretary. You were having meetings with Biden. You didn't realize that he was gone, or you weren't having meetings and you didn't ask questions. That's the problem the Democratic Party overall faces. Then it faces a couple of other problems, that Trump, the Republican Party under Trump, has made gains with so many different demographic groups, young people in general, men, minorities. Trump won like first-time black male voters. I mean, that is astonishing. He won them outright. He won that category. Whereas, like, in our lifetimes, we're used to, Republicans get about 7% of the black vote. These are tremendous gains. A lot of things have reversed where now Republicans want turnout. They want everybody to show up because that helps Trump's numbers. If everybody in the country had voted, Trump would have won the popular vote by more. Whereas Democrats want just the most, like, elite, affluent, highly educated, highly motivated activist voters to show up because that's how Democrats win. Republicans, look, it's not all smooth sailing for Republicans. We don't know how Republicans do when Trump's name is not on the ballot. His name won't be on the ballot for the midterms, and he won't be running again in 2028. Does J.D. Vance, or whoever it is, but probably J.D. Vance, get the exact same kind of advantages Trump gets with the voters? We don't know. So it's not a guarantee, but a lot of things that helped Democrats in the past, they don't have right now. They don't know what their platform is. They don't know if they should go farther left on economic issues, like in the Bernie mode, or if they should moderate on everything. They're having that internal fight. It's a mess for them, such that in any other year you'd expect them to kill it at the midterms, and now I'm not even sure they're going to take back the House. It's going to be close, but there's no guarantee that they do.
I'll tell you, I think that Elon buying Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it was also a big deal. And I say that because you look at the claims that the Democrats were making in the last election. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, both of them had the same line when it came to the border. The border's safe, the border's secure, we have everything under control, there's no problem there. Inflation, nah, that's something that's being made up. There's no inflation, we got that under control. The crime, there's no such thing as crime. People are safe. If you understood statistics, you would understand that crime is better than it was in the 1950s. And they would just make all of these ridiculous claims that if you lived in those areas, or at least the areas impacted by those subjects, you knew were insane. But in the old days, what would happen is the fact checkers for the big newspapers would come out and say, oh, yes, we're very safe. There is no crime going on right now. Oh, yeah, homelessness is falling off a cliff. No problem there. The border never been more secure. And then if you have the companies in Silicon Valley suppressing evidence to the contrary, then the public, I guess, just assumes that that's true, and they doubt their lying eyes. But given the fact that Elon owned Twitter and the truth wasn't suppressed, people went with their lying eyes because they didn't have everyone else on planet Earth pummeling them for acknowledging what was right in front of their face.
Yeah, there's no way around it. The rise of alternative media has been transformational in how good it is for the fortunes of ideological traditions that exist outside the Democratic Party. So it has benefited the Republican Party to the extent that Trump, in particular, has embraced, communicating on social media X. Elon Musk is a huge part of this equation. So too is Joe Rogan and just the podcast network. More and more people, Americans, and people all over the world, but Americans is what's relevant here, are getting news and information from sources other than the mainstream media. The mainstream media's monopoly, their stranglehold, their gatekeeping, it's all over, and it's never, ever, ever, ever coming back. And that's bad news for Democrats, frankly, because traditional media was largely beholden to their worldview and did their bidding in subtle ways, often, sometimes not so subtle, but often very subtle ways. Now, I still think they should be part of the conversation. I don't hate the mainstream media. I learn from it. I don't think every single contrarian conspiracy theorist crazy thing is correct, but I would much rather live in a world where there are more places to get sources of information and hear out the other side. And when you do that, you rebalance the scales and you allow for someone else to win or have a chance, and that's a problem the Democrats face, and they don't know how to the same extent participate in these media environments. They haven't figured it out. Kamala Harris was totally lost. She didn't trust herself in the Joe Rogan environment, so she didn't even bother to try. The next successful Democrat is going to be someone who can excel at those formats. Gavin Newsom's certainly better at it than Kamala Harris. That's not saying much. So maybe it'll be him. Maybe it'll be someone else. But that's the skill set that is needed to communicate in alternative media.
What's the feeling right now in Washington, D.C. in terms of what will eventually happen with the redrawing of congressional lines? Do they think that anyone's going to blink?
That's a good question. It's really hard to say. And, kudos to Gavin Newsom. That's all's fair in love and war. Texas Republicans said, we're going to do this. And he said, okay, well, then I'm going to do it right back. So what's the point? I think there's a chance all sides stand down. But also there's a chance that everybody in Congress says, you know what, can we just all agree to redraw the districts in ways that are favorable to the people who are already here? Not you, Jasmine Crockett, we're sick of you, you're gone. But to some extent, there's a mutual interest both parties have in drawing very safe districts and kind of saying, okay, you know what, this is a Democratic state, so we'll draw them so they're all very safe, and Republicans just get one, and we get four, and they're all safe, and there's no competition, and that's kind of what we want. That vibe, it could really take over the whole map. And I don't think it would be good for democracy or for conservative ideas or it would be good for the people who are already in Congress, which is why it probably is what will happen in the long run.
Robby Soave, senior editor at Reason and host of Rising on the Hill TV. You can read him online at reason.com and follow him on X at Robby Soave. Robby Soave, thanks so much for stopping by.
My pleasure. Take care.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, as we approach the end of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
You could also, check out what other podcasts do or whatever. But hey, you want to keep listening to this? You want 10 hours a day of this show? Who am I to tell you that that's insane? Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could do what George Gascon does to himself in the middle of the night.
Do a Google on YouTube.
You can get the free KABC app. You can get the free KSFO app. Get the KMJ Now app. We're doing that show on Saturdays. There are so many different ways to listen to this show and nothing else.
I'll tell you, whenever they replay an hour of this program on any of the 3 stations that take the show, and they replay it at a time that's not when we're on the air live, and I'm unaware of it. Sometimes someone calls in sick or whatever, and they just play us. And then all of a sudden the email starts blowing up about a subject that we talked about 3 weeks ago. I'm always so confused.
We also get a lot of emails when they forget to upload the show properly that runs at 3 a.m. on KSFO, and they've heard the same show 7 times in a row.
I hope it's an entertaining one. And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, today's first edition takes us to Stockton.
This one really hits below the belt. In Stockton, in front of a library, there was a bench that was funded by charity that was dedicated to the blind, and it had a plaque with Helen Keller's name on it. That got stolen.
You gotta be kidding me.
They stole a bench for the blind.
Well, what'd they do to the deaf?
You don't even want to know. For more, here is CBS in Sacramento.
But a special bench at a Stockton library stolen. Now the community in Stockton is demanding answers after that bench dedicated to the disabled community just a little over a month ago vanished.
It's a new bench, too.
Well, that didn't take long.
City says they're aware of the theft and organizers just want the nice green bench they had returned.
Well, I don't know if the intended audience knows if it's green or not, but they definitely missed their bench.
Well, just out of curiosity, I know this is kind of not the point of the story, But why do they have a dedicated bench just for the blind? What if someone else wanted to sit there?
I think anybody can sit there, but it's dedicated to the blind.
I see.
A reporter covering San Joaquin County, Esteban Reynoso, is in Stockton, speaking with the blind and disabled community, now feeling discouraged with their celebration piece gone.
And I couldn't believe it.
It all came as a shock for Jennifer Gass.
I know things like this happen all the time.
When she heard an important commemoration was stolen from a local library. Yeah. Gass is a leader with the San Joaquin Lions.
I mean, you think of the worst people to go after this with, somebody could think that bench is there, they go to sit, and then they just fall.
Oh, has anyone ever rearranged furniture in your living room? I can see just fine, but if something isn't where it's supposed to be, and I assume it's there, I'll end up on the floor too.
Gass is a leader with the San Joaquin Lions Club in Stockton and has been blind since she was 20.
Who would do this to our disabled people, to our library? It's really distressing.
She's wondering why someone would steal this, an ivy green bench that sat right behind South Stockton's Maya Angelou Library, a bench that was just dedicated in late June to disabled rights advocate Helen Keller.
Well, sure, that's all beautiful, and it's a wonderful thing that you did, but I got to hawk this for some meth.
Yeah, Helen doesn't get a pass from the heathens.
We had dignitaries from the city, the county, Lions International. Everybody enjoyed it with many pictures with the bench, and now it's not there.
Did they nail the bench into the ground?
Yeah, next time maybe they have to just put it in the ground like the Sword and the Stone at Disneyland.
The bench comes from the Lions Club initiative called Bags for Benches, where they collect thousands of pounds of plastic and recycle it to pay for the bench. The plaque on the bench honors the 100th year Helen Keller challenged the Lions Club International to become Knights of the Blind.
It's a good place people can sit.
Wait a minute. To raise money for the bench, they gave blind people bags and they had them pick things up by the side of the road?
I don't think it was the blind people that picked up the trash. But the people that picked up the trash did it to help the blind.
Yeah, well, I would hope so. Because if you took a bunch of blind people and you put them near oncoming cars and you told them to stay on the shoulder and pick up the cans, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
Good place people can sit and reflect and remember the significance of Helen Keller and, of course, our disabled community.
Stockton police say there is no suspect information nor video of the theft. It's also unclear what day or time the bench was stolen.
But what also frustrates...
No one knows anything about this bench.
No, it seems like they're starting from scratch here.
But what also frustrates Gass is that the bench that was originally taken was about 40 pounds, making it really heavy to just pick up and get out of here.
Yeah, but meth can give you superhuman strength.
Oh, yeah, vodka, too. Remember when Liza Minnelli got divorced from David Guest, and he claimed that she used to drink vodka, and it gave her superhuman strength, and she would beat him up?
And on top of that, it's completely gated off. You need a key in order to get here behind the library where the bench was.
The city is aware of the theft, and a white replacement bench was put in not long after.
Wait, why isn't it green? I guess the color doesn't matter, does it?
No.
Like, why pay for the paint?
Well, especially when you know it's just going to get stolen again.
There is that.
And a white replacement bench was put in not long after.
Traditionally, we're underrepresented in the arts, and we just want to be included and have a presence, and now it's been taken away from us again.
There you go. Just when you think the crime stories in California can't get any lower, in Stockton, they're literally stealing from the blind.
All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And now we're moving to North Hollywood.
In North Hollywood, a whole bunch of cars on a street got vandalized. Why? Well, it's North Hollywood.
Not West Toluca Lake?
No. The parts of North Hollywood that haven't been changed to other parts of town, like Studio City or Valley Village or West Toluca Lake or Toluca Woods or Valley Glen, the parts that are still North Hollywood, stay away. NoHo Arts District, that's where the red line is. For more, here's NBC4.
First on 4, more than 24 cars vandalized, all while their owners were likely sleeping. Police say a man smashed the windows of parked cars along a very busy street in North Hollywood. That man has been arrested, but he may not be in jail for long.
Well, it is Los Angeles, so I don't think you're going out on a limb with that statement.
Notice how we almost have a sigh of relief because for the first time in what feels like forever, it's an L.A. story where someone got arrested, but there's always a caveat.
That man has been arrested, but he may not be in jail for long.
Of course.
NBC4's Lolita Lopez has a story that you're seeing for the first time and only on 4.
Gonna call the cops, then call my mechanic.
That was Michelle Twan. She walked out of her apartment building here on busy Tahunga Avenue in North Hollywood to find her car like this.
Like, I just don't understand. Obviously, I'm very grateful that they didn't take anything, but what was the point of this?
Drugs.
Drugs, or they're a really hardcore Angel fan and they took the loss hard.
And Michelle is not alone. Los Angeles police say 29 cars were vandalized on this street right next to the entrance to the 170 freeway.
When you are looking for a place to live in Los Angeles, and for some reason you've decided, despite all the warnings you've heard on places like this show, that you should not live in Los Angeles, and you decide the only choice you have is to live in the city of Los Angeles, make sure you have somewhere that has something more than street parking, or this will happen to you.
How is it that no one woke up? If that guy destroyed that many cars, wouldn't that make noise?
You would think so, but it really isn't anything compared to the sound of the constant police helicopters that go around that part of the valley. So these people are already desensitized to all kinds of noise.
But the breaking glass didn't wake anyone up?
Nah.
Cops getting
It's North Hollywood. I bet you every time you fall asleep, there's broken glass.
Cops getting a call from a witness around 4:30 this morning about a man smashing car windows. That man was arrested for felony vandalism. They say he used a rock to smash the windows, causing thousands of dollars in damages.
How many rocks did he have?
Apparently a lot.
I have to pay for that. That's really frustrating.
Police put these cards on car windshields, letting those owners know that their cars are part of a criminal investigation. Law enforcement sources tell us because this is a $0 bail crime, the man could leave police custody.
Because of, equity.
Doesn't matter if it's felony vandalism. Doesn't matter that he did it to 27 cars. In L.A. County, with our bail schedule, that's a no-bail crime.
It's going to be good for the glass industry.
Law enforcement sources tell us because this is a $0 bail crime, the man could leave police custody. But because he has prior arrests for vandalism, police...
You don't say. This isn't his first time?
Wait, he didn't learn his lesson?
But because he has prior arrests for vandalism, police say they're going to a magistrate judge to ask that a bail be set or that he's held in custody until he can go to court on this latest incident. In North Hollywood, Lolita Lopez, NBC4 News.
There's the latest out of North Hollywood.
Can you imagine if one of your cars had the window broken along with everyone else in your neighborhood? You're late for work, you wake up, you're trying to get all your stuff together. You go out to the car, and now you have that problem to deal with?
I have had my car window broken exactly once. I was living in Valley Village, very close to North Hollywood, and I had an apartment that had its own parking. But I was over at a friend's house a couple of streets over, and let's just say I had a little too much to drink, a little too much to smoke, decided it would not be safe to take my car home, so I stumbled back to my apartment, passed out, woke up the next morning, couldn't remember where my car was, finally retraced my steps, and what do you know? Somebody broke the window and bipped me because I parked on the street.
But you've only been been bipped once, not several times.
I have not been bipped several times.
I've been bipped several times.
And to be fair, I was the dumbass that kept my iPod right there in the front for everyone to see.
That was a mulligan I bet you wish you had back.
They stole all 1,000 of my songs.
In your defense, though, you were drunk.
Very.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
D writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. I had a friend who was a teacher in Los Angeles. He lives south of the 10 freeway in downtown. His car got broken into so many times that he just left the windows down, the car unlocked, and made an agreement with the homeless that they could sleep in his car at night as long as they didn't break anything.
Could you imagine how that car must have smelled each day?
Yeah, that's not a deal I would make.
No. All right, Randy, we have time for one more addition to the blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this installment takes us to my mother's hometown of Downey.
In Downey, there was a burglary, and something that is supposed to keep your belongings safe wasn't safe. And that thing was a safe.
We're learning that as we do more stories in the blotter.
That entire industry needs a rebrand. For more, here's NBC4.
And now at 6 with that new video from inside a home in Downey. That house was ransacked by burglars just moments after the homeowner left. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Michael Brownlee. That break-in happened this afternoon, and it comes amid an uptick in burglaries all across Southern California.
But I thought crime was down.
Yeah, why does the news keep saying that?
Well, because Karen Bass keeps saying it.
Tonight, police are still looking for the group of people caught on surveillance cameras here making a run for it.
All right, NBC4's Hetty Chang is live in Downey with an exclusive look inside of that home just hours after that burglary. Hetty.
Michael and Colleen, the 67-year-old homeowner, still understandably really shaken up and really scared. He says he thinks the men may have been watching him because just a few minutes after he left the house this morning is when he got that alert that someone had broken in.
Well, that's usually the move. In fact, what a lot of people are doing now is they steal Teslas, and then they park a Tesla on your street. Teslas have something called Sentry Mode, where it's got a camera, and you can pretty much case a joint without anyone knowing.
Great.
A neighbor's security camera captured the whole getaway. 3 masked men carrying backpacks and duffel bags.
This is where they jumped through. They might have used this to step on it, but it fell through.
Hey, that rhymed.
She could be the mayor of L.A.
They might have used this to step on it, but it fell through.
The men run through the Rodriguez's backyard, the family dogs chasing them as they jump the side gate and get into a waiting getaway car.
Fue una pesadilla, la verdad.
The men had just broken into their neighbor's house on Newville Avenue near the 605 and the 5. The 67-year-old retired businessman thinks he may have been watched.
Drop off my wife. The alarm calls me.
Fearing for his safety, the homeowner did not want to show his face.
Everyone's afraid of retaliation.
That is a hallmark of every blotter story from L.A. County.
But showed us the broken sliding glass door and his now ransacked house. He says he watched as the masked men tore through every room of his house.
And something hit my look at the camera in my phone. And that's when I freaked out. I'm hearing these guys running upstairs, and I see my little dog walking up the thing. I go, why is he loose?
He says the men took jewelry, watches, valuables, and the nearly $100,000 in cash in his safe.
Why?
I'll tell you, I know people hate the banks, but it's still much safer at the bank than it is in your house, especially in this state.
Keeping $100,000 in cash is not a smart idea when we let criminals on the loose in this county.
Bad idea.
He says the men took jewelry, watches, valuables, and the nearly $100,000 in cash in his safe.
How much did that safe cost?
Not enough.
The longtime Downey homeowner says his neighborhood has changed, not for the better. That's why he says...
And you still kept the 6 figures of cash in the house?
There's got to be a Chase right around the corner.
That's why he says he's always taken steps to protect himself.
I don't open the door for nobody no more.
FDIC insured. If the bank gets robbed, they'll still pay you out.
Please put it there, sir.
You know, and if I come in home and I see a car suspicious in the front, I go around. And anything you do is, you can even take a walk. You want to walk a little bit with your dog, you can do that. They stop you, give me.
You're afraid to walk your dog in your neighborhood, but you kept $100,000 in your house?
As Chick Hearn would say, that's not a Phi Beta Kappa decision.